Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down. So, for the second week in the row, the crazy schedule of the Seaman got in the way of a theater throwback, and instead of launching it on Throwback Thursday, we are once again launching it on Flashback Friday. But nonetheless, we are diving into our theater throwback, and today we are getting ready to dive into the fourth film that we've looked at from the Conjuring universe. What's funny is this is actually the second film in the Conjuring universe. We kind of went Conjuring, Conjuring 2, then jumped into the spin-offs chronologically, starting with Annabelle Creation, and also have ended up lining up these movies in the order of my favorites. The Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, my three faves. This one is the one that escapes being my least favorite in this series. And, you know, it was an interesting movie to kind of jump into for a couple different reasons. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, into Annabelle. That's right, the technically second movie in the Conjuring universe. We're jumping in the time machine all the way back to 2014 when this one came out. But you know, when you look at it, like I said, there's some interesting stuff going on here. Gary Dauberman, this is his first go at writing and working with James Wan, and you know, that worked really well in a lot of other places. He's written really, really great things in lots of other places, and I think his script here is pretty solid. It does a really good job of tying in the first Conjuring and even setting up stuff for future movies. You don't necessarily put it all together until you get through, you know, Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, The Nun, and you get all the way through all those movies and you go, oh wow, man, look at how Dauberman was weaving all of these things together. So here is his first go around, and you know, it's not the strongest movie in the catalog, but I don't necessarily think that's all Dauberman's fault. Like I said, I thought he weaved some nice lines that kind of connect these movies in a very, very interesting way. But here, James Wan decided to pass off directing duty to John R. Leonetti, who'd been his cinematographer on The Conjuring and Insidious. And, you know, you would expect, you know, a lot of the same vibes and feels from The Conjuring with the guy who shot the movie, but directing a little bit different. And in this one, there are moments. This movie has stretches. Its opening sequence is probably the best stretch of the whole movie when you see, you know, like the murder that happens next door to the family that we're following that kind of leads, or what we thought was leading us into Annabelle, but obviously Annabelle Creation went back even further, and then again tied all those things together. And you know, you get some nice stretches, you know, from Leonetti. You know, where, you know, there's some nice stretches, like I said, in that opening sequence. There's kind of some good suspense, some thrills, and there's two more scenes in particular that I enjoyed. One, both scenes involve our lead actress, Annabelle Wallis, who plays Mia. And for those unfamiliar, Mia and John have moved into a house. She's pregnant, and one night, you know, she hears a noise and tells them to go check on their neighbors, and when they go over there, they find a bloodbath. And then, you know, those people then get into their house, kind of attack Mia. Baby's kind of at risk. She ends up having to stay, like, at home all the time, while her husband, played by Horton, John, has to go on a business trip. So you get this stretch of time where this woman is you know, bedridden and being attacked by a demon. And you know, like I said, there's a couple sequences with her that really pop also. You know, there's a stretch where she has to go down into the basement and then kind of gets stuck in the elevator, in the sense that, like, when she hits the buttons, it doesn't ever seem to go anywhere. That stretch is really good, and then there's a stretch right outside, not too long after that, I don't think, that's right outside of her apartment. You know, that involves Alfre Woodard, who plays Evelyn, who's you know, a friend that kind of Mia makes throughout the course of the movie. And those two stretches in particular, along with the opening stretch, are kind of the ones that pull you to the edge of your seat. They get you like, oh man, and they get you with a couple nice jump scares where you actually physically see the demon that is chasing Mia, and it's kind of, you know, like I said, this was the second movie into the Conjuring universe. This one kind of really gives you the concept of, like, oh man, look at that thing. Like, this isn't just a ghost, you know, or the ghost of a witch. Like, this is a flat out demon, you know. And when we find out that that's kind of another through line through all of these movies, you know, we hadn't really seen this in The Conjuring, and this, you know, it gave me Insidious vibes to look at the design of the demon that's kind of chasing him. But like I said, there are a couple stretches in this film that are pretty solid, but overall, I just didn't feel the connection to this movie and to its cast the way I had with The Conjuring. And then afterwards, The Conjuring 2 and Annabelle Creation. Where, and I've mentioned this in my other reviews, where, having a family be kind of like the focal point of the movie puts a lot at stake. And when anytime kids are involved, it kind of inches you up in your seat a little bit more. And this was the first movie that we got where our two leads are adults. And yes, Mia is pregnant. And that's like the one element where you do kind of have the concept of the kid, because there's, some times during the pregnancy where you're like, oh, man, but for the most part, we're just with Mia. And then toward the back half of the movie, she does, spoilers, does have the baby. And there are some scenes with the kid that, like, those are the scenes. Again, now a kid's inserted, and boom, now I'm inching up in my chair, man, because, at one point she gets separated and kind of she's outside of the room and the baby's inside the room. And you're like, oh man, like freaking out. And then, the way things play by the end of the movie, where the baby, the life is on the line, and you're like, boom, there it is. This is the stuff that I need. But outside of that and those couple earlier moments in the movie, this one kind of falls flat. The scares didn't really get you to jump too much. The use of the doll, it's good. But again, Annabelle's just a doll, and this, we get to see, like I said, the demon that kind of chases them. So story-wise and what we get from a thrill, scare perspective, kind of mediocre. And the acting performances are all kind of just, they're good enough, Annabelle Wallis does a fine job playing Mia. She gets the, I'm starting to lose my mind bit down pretty well by the end of the movie, where if you're not seeing all the stuff that's happening to her, you might think that Mia is crazy. Like I said, Annabelle, which is funny, Annabelle Wallis is playing a character inside of a movie called Annabelle. And like I said, I think she does an okay job. She takes us through this. And like I said, I never hate this movie when it's on, but I'm not as invested or pulled in or sucked in the way I am in the other movies. Horton, like I said, who plays her husband, he pops in and out of the movie, and he has some nice moments, but again, very kind of generic. Doesn't really pop as much as the characters that we've seen in the other movies that we've already talked about. But, the one thing that I do like about both of them, they don't really waste any time once, Mia kind of understands what's starting to happen and puts some of these things together and kind of lets John know. John's a little hesitant at first, but like a good husband, kind of backs up his wife, and they go, okay, if this is what's going on, then let's go talk to somebody who might know something about it. And that leads us to, Tony Amendola, who plays Father Perez, who's the priest at their, kind of local church. And, he does an alright job. He kind of gets them into this is what could be going on. This is what maybe you should do. Things to be worried about. And of course, as he gets drawn into the movie, things don't always play out great for priests to get pulled into these demon-type movies. And that's the other thing, too, with this movie. There's no physical possession at any point. The other movies that we've talked about with, The Conjuring 1 and 2 and Annabelle Creation, we always have a central focal character who's being attacked by the demon, in this case Mia, but then also possessed by that demon, which allows you to kind of do more ghostly type things, and I think just more things that could have worked where, they were less door tricks or things that just worked in the other movies. Losing that element too, I think, also hurt this movie, and kind of could have given Father Perez a little bit more to do than we physically see him do. But he does try to get involved, he does try to help, and a solid performance from Tony Amendola. But again, nothing that really stands out. If there was anybody in this movie who I thought stood out, it's Alfre Woodard, who plays Evelyn, who kind of befriends Mia, and kind of becomes a place for her to talk to, an outlet, someone to come over and hang out with her when John's not around. And as is always the case with Miss Alfre Woodard, she is rock solid, and just, she is the standout every time she's on screen, man. She has some really, really nice sequences, and the way her storyline kind of ties in, it was the one thing in the movie I was like, oh man, I really dug Evelyn's whole bit and how she played into the movie. She's also involved in that hallway scene. And there is some of the more scary, I think, elements of this movie happen when Alfre Woodard is in the film, and she is just rock solid. So, look, like I said, man, they use the doll a decent amount, and it pops up and kind of, but the jump scares just aren't there. That sense of like, oh man, I really hope they can get out of this, isn't quite as strong as the other movies. So for me, Annabelle, it's a solid entry. I think when you look at the whole universe, there's something to take away from all of these movies. And like I said, when you're dealing, with a guy who's written a lot of them, with Gary Dauberman, there are a lot of nice through lines that connect this universe, make it so interconnected to each other that it really flows quite nicely. So Annabelle, a very, very important piece in this franchise, but not necessarily my favorite movie. But now, I want to know what you think, man. You've gotten all my thoughts. Now it's your turn. I want you to hit those comments down below. Let me know if you dug Annabelle, where this falls in line in the Conjuring universe for you as far as rankings. Did you think it held up and did a lot of the things that James Wan was able to do in the Conjuring, that even though he handed it off to his cinematographer buddy, John R. Leonetti, I don't know. I didn't think the camera work was quite as strong as those movies. So let me know what you thought there. If you didn't like the movie, what did you not like? What wasn't working for you? As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here and you want to be around and come around and check out all of our theater throwbacks when we're doing, anything that's not in the theater, fair game on Thursdays or apparently now Fridays. Why don't you jump over there, man? You can go hit that subscribe button and come follow me along, man. Join the Cinema Sit-Down squad. And if you hit that little bell, man, you'll get alerts so you know when I drop a theater throwback and when I post any video at all. So there you go, man. Had another good time here on a Flashback Friday. Sorry again, for not getting that up yesterday. But I'm glad that you came around for another Flashback Friday. For the Seaman's Cinema Sit-Down on the Seaman, I'm signing off. Peace. Well, if you aren't still here, looking for something else to check out that's Seaman related, why don't you check out a video like this guy or this guy? And if you really want to help the Seaman out in year 2, hit that subscribe button and come join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, kids. You know what to do. See ya.